It's Veritas Forum with Dr. Craig Johnson, professor in residence of Chalcedon Christian Academy and pastor of Bethel Christian Fellowship in Agoura Hills.
Well, I'm a male authority figure with a microphone, and I have these really intimidating handouts in front of me that Linda did, and they're all dealing with a topic that is on each of our hearts, and that's the problem of evil. And the I don't know about you, but this is not an academic subject. This is not just for me a left brain neck up topic. If God is all loving and all powerful and all knowing, why is there evil in the world? Where did it come from? If God's all powerful and all loving and all pure and all good, how could something corrupt ever arise directly from such a source? Well, these are questions I was consumed with all of my life. And let me just tell you a little bit about me before we get started, because you have to understand something. I'm not here to convert you. I don't want to sell you a vacuum cleaner. I don't want... So many Christian pastors to me feel like they're trying to sell something and they're going to close a deal, or you're another notch in their gospel gun. Let me just tell you, I'm just another broken person who is desperately living day to day and seeking God's mercy and always trying to learn and always trying to grow. And so it's, it's a little daunting to put out a flyer that says, come hear a man who's going to answer the problem of evil. Well, I want you to know that I'm very aware, probably more than most people are, about what evil is, what we're going to call existential evil. There's two dimensions to the problem of evil. We'll define evil in a minute. I think you all know what evil is. But there's an intellectual problem of evil. Like, if there's a loving God, how come there's evil in the world? Well, I can answer that real quick. 9 words. God has a reason for the evil he allows. Okay, there. You can go home. Well, notice, so there's no logical problem of evil tonight. I just answered the question. God has a reason for the evil he allows. Okay. Well, that doesn't really warm the cockles of your heart, though, does it? That doesn't really touch you at the deep emotional, existential level. That doesn't really help you with tortured children and all the violations of our own life. And I don't know about you, but I started life very hopeful. I was very, very much a child prodigy when it came to music. Grew up in the Midwest, had a wonderful home. Wasn't a garbage can kid, no arms, no legs, on heroin. I mean, it was nothing like that. I was once arrested for impersonating a Ken doll. So you get the idea. I didn't live in a garbage can or anything like that. So I had wonderful parents. I wasn't raised in a Christian home, but started life extraordinarily hopeful. And we all run into real life, and then reality starts happening, and then we start having setbacks. Well, I gave my heart to Christ very young, and so I was very ambitious, and I was going to save the world, and I was going to help every broken heart, and I was going to answer every Bible question. And then I began to stumble upon my own brokenness. Then I began to realize that I didn't have all the answers, and that in fact I was just full of crap a lot of times, and I was meant well, but I didn't have the right things to say. And sometimes when people are in pain and you say the wrong thing, it's better that you would not have even met them than that you try to help them. Some people's idea of trying to help other people is like two burn victims hugging. Bad, horrible. Try to forget that one. Oh. And so, a wound-to-wound contact, you're hugging someone at the point of their wound. And so I was very ambitious and thought I was God's gift to the world for a period of time. And then slowly I began to come upon the existential problem of evil. I always knew God had a reason for the evil he allows. Well, isn't that a pat answer? And it is true, by the way. There are a lot of things I allow my children to endure. In fact, my son Grant fell, deeply wounded his head, and I held him while a man without anesthetics sewed that wound up. I not only allowed it, I paid the man to do it. A lot of money in the emergency room. So there are second-order evils that we as parents allow our children go through for first-order goods. I mean, I submit my kids willingly to not with that one, but when I strapped them into the dental chair and had the drill go to work on them, and I also held them down and allowed this unspeakable experiment, and then I paid them to do that. I've encountered those issues, and I thought, so I have a reason for some of what my kids perceive evil that I allow them to go through. Well, but the problem of evil hits us at a deep emotional level. And one of the... Well, it's working because it's going on the TV, but it's not it's not being loud for you. No, it's just keeping me into the camera. Yeah. Because you couldn't hear me. Yeah. Why is he holding a mic? Because we're filming right there, and I need to talk in it. See, I don't have the $500 for the Janet Jackson earpiece professional mic. Yeah. So we'll take an offering for that if you want to buy that. The next time I'm Janet, but the problem of evil, it isn't the intellectualizing. It's like intellectual chess. It doesn't comfort you when you're a victim of incest, for someone to say God has a reason for the evil he allows, even if it's true. So I want to talk about the problem of evil tonight. And the problem of evil, of course, is anything that frustrates aspirations, anything that actually harms our personhood. Now, I have some handouts. Pass these out. Every one of you grab one. And we're going to go through these points. But I want you to know that instead of approaching this topic in an insensitive manner, that I have been touched in my life deeply by the problem of evil and difficulties. I went into a marriage in my life that I thought was very bold and confident and was going to save the world in that department, and it became a horrible failure, and I lost that marriage. That's a problem of evil right there. That'll come and live right in your heart. And then 10 years ago, I experienced something that changed my life forever. Our third little child named Michael was born, and Michael was born a special needs child. He was born with a chromosomal deficiency. And all of a sudden, in a moment, we went from a totally normal pregnancy to an entire world gone upside down. And Michael came out with 3 holes in his heart and malrotation of the intestines and 2 hernias and massive reflux. And I had to stay up with him all night, every night. And he had to have 10 medications simultaneously all the time and a pump in his stomach to give him the milk. And he had to be moved every 20 minutes or he would choke in his own fluids. And so, that's the problem of evil. That's the existential problem of evil. That's the emotional problem of evil. See, people can't give me pat answers because people don't know what it's like to live with a special needs child. He's 10 years old. He's the delight of my life. He is my angel, and he's a window to eternity, my little lamb, Michael, and right now he's over at Tommy's house for a little while we're here. But you know what? He's 10 now. But see, you can't give me pat answers because unless you've walked in my shoes, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So we as Christians have to be very careful sometimes about being pompous and sounding like asses and coming in as though we have God's message from Mount Sinai. Well, you know what? Sometimes you got to walk a mile in somebody's moccasins to understand the grinding anguish of their life and what it's like to be an incest survivor and what it's like to survive rape and what it's like to be from a dysfunctional family that you didn't choose and what it's like. We've all got difficulties, and that's the problem of evil. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the visceral gut level that, as a therapist, that you run into all the time. We hear, as pastors, as clinicians, we hear unspeakable stories of pain and anguish, and those are the people who are asking, what about this issue? Can you shed some light? Well, with humility, I want to try to shed some light. And we're not going to give any final answers tonight. My favorite verse in the Bible is Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things revealed belong to us and our children forever. There are secret things, and I'm not here to try to answer those for you. I don't know why your child died or didn't die. I don't know why your marriage failed. I can't answer those individual instances of evil, but what we're going to do tonight is we're just going to do an overview of some principles that might help us with maybe bringing some of this together in our lives. And if you take a look real quick, it's really sort of a simple layout. What I want to do, well, what is evil? Well, evil is anything that frustrates human expectations, pain, sickness, hatred, murder, cruelty. Now that's one of our categories of evil, cruelty. That's an example of moral evil. An earthquake is an example of physical evil. When we look at physical evil, that seems a little bit different because it seems when you look at an earthquake or a hurricane, that doesn't seem tied into human freedom. That doesn't seem to be tied into someone's act of sin or disobedience. So what about earthquakes? What about diseases? What about all of these different things? What about just the sheer cruelty? I mean, I'm sort of an expert on World War II and the Holocaust and unspeakable tragedy and horror, man wreaking upon man, all kinds of horrible things. The problem of evil. We get the picture of what we're talking about.